What is going on, guys and girls? It's Ghost Robo, and today is September 11th. We're looking at the hard reset demo here. It is set in a futuristic dark city. The year is 2436. It comes out for PC this Tuesday in like 36 hours or so. I'm thinking about doing it, so after you look at the game, let me know what you think about it. If you think it looks like something fun. I think the graphics are awesome. It looks really sweet. So we'll check that out, but I'm not going to be commentating on the gameplay, although this is live. I'm going to be focusing sort of on telling you my experience of September 11th and then sort of some thoughts as well. So, as we electrocute these robots, in 2001, I was 11 years old, almost 12, 11 years old. And strangely enough, I was in 7th grade, which may seem like, what, 11 years in 7th grade? But I skipped 3rd grade, so I entered the middle school when I was 10 years old, which, was kind of a great thing for me academically. I'm a pretty smart guy. But it was kind of a terrible thing, basketball-wise and kind of just emotionally in general. I was still in my teams in scoring in 6th and 7th grade, but I'm 6'3" now, and I was 5'1" when I entered 6th grade at 10 years old, and just my school had my school had middle school mixed with high school, so you had 6th graders mixed with 12th graders and 10-year-olds mixed with 18-year-olds, which if I was ever building the school, I would never do anything of this sort. It was a terrible sort of organization, because you got then 10-year-olds hearing and being involved in 18-year-old problems and issues, which just isn't right. But enough about my school. I was 11 years old, and I was really into SpongeBob and basketball and the Detroit Lions, and I had just gotten my Game Boy Advance earlier in the year. I got those on launch day. I got a indigo purple, and my brother Jake, he got a nice Glacier White. And I remember playing Super Mario Advance, beating it the day it came out on launch day, and getting Rayman and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 or 3, I think it was 2, which was an awesome game on GBA. And I was super excited for the GameCube launch, being a huge Nintendo fan at 11 years old. I'd gone to the Cube Club, which was sort of the pre-release events for the GameCube, where they let the public play all the games early in these, like, quote, secret locations, which was a really, for an 11-year-old, it was like an amazing opportunity and a super sweet event that I'll never forget. But I went to school on September 11th, not thinking anything different or really having any care. I mean, I had cares, but nothing out of the ordinary, really. And I remember being at school and starting in the halls in the morning, hearing things about World War III and China attacking, and instantly I was terrified. And normally, especially in the halls, you hear high schoolers talking. I was, like I said, pretty smart guy, so I realized kids say a lot of things, and you don't really always listen or trust all of them. But I could tell that the intensity and the uneasiness of these conversations meant that something serious was going on here. And I was probably already uneasy in the halls at school, because my littlest brother, Noah, or Ghostbot, as you may know him, who's now 10, was born on September 2nd of that year. And he was actually, oddly enough, due on September 11th, which is kind of creeped me out for a few years. But my mom had just given birth to a baby. We had a new member of our family. Jake, my middle brother, was 7, so we had basically the same familial lifestyle for a long time, and now everything was going to be changed up. And my mom didn't take me to school on the first day for the first time in my life, and that may not sound like a big deal, but I went to private schools my entire life, and so I always never rode a bus. I always was driven to school and had my mom take me, and so that was a sort of a big missing for me that year, to not have her be there. So I was already not, but having a new brother is fantastic in a lot of ways, but especially for an 11-year-old, terrifying in a lot of others. So I was already not really feeling that comfortable, and then I hear these things, and I'm starting to get nervous. I went to Spanish class, which I didn't really like Spanish class. I took French all the way up through 5th grade, and then switched to Spanish in middle school. I frankly don't even really remember the reason of it. But my teacher was really nice, and why that's important is because she was really acting strange that day, and really uneasy about everything. I could just tell something was up instantly. And then she, very near the beginning of class, told us that, basic info, that they didn't know much at this point. I live, I was East Coast time, so it was, as it was happening, at, whatever time it was, 9, 10 in the morning, that 2 planes had crashed into the Twin Towers, and that they didn't really know much else. And I instantly was horrified and terrified. And I went to the bathroom, and it wasn't because, I mean, I got up in class and just left, not because I had to use the bathroom, but because I was just so freaked out and scared I didn't know what else to do, and I kind of didn't want to hear more. I kind of wanted to avoid, and you know, being 11 years old, I don't really blame myself. I can see where I was coming from and why I made such a choice, but I just sat in the bathroom for 10 minutes or so, and just kind of shook a little. I mean, really, I was terrified. And if you were around my age, I'm sure a lot of you were as well. But I was scared senseless, and I kind of sat in the bathroom for about 10 minutes and just kind of regrouped until I felt ready to come back and hear more and deal with more, because school sort of stopped for the day, which in some ways I think was great and nice, and it helped us to figure things out. But in some ways I think it was almost worse, because it placed the entire focus of the day on that. And not that it shouldn't have got the entire focus, but just for 11, 12-year-old kids, it's a lot to handle. And so I learned more throughout the day, but it wasn't really until I got home that I heard everything. I talked to my parents and watched TV with them and kind of got the full lowdown from my house. And you know, it obviously took days and weeks to come to grips with everything, but I vividly remember that first day. My mom and dad and little baby brother came to pick us up, me and my other brother, up from school, and we got home, and I asked my mom, do you think we're going to be okay? Because I think a lot of people, if you weren't fully aware of what was going on, were nervous that maybe other places would get attacked, or what was going to happen. And you know, my mom reassured me, saying, you know, she obviously was laying there in bed because she's still not feeling well from giving birth to a child 9 days earlier. But I remember her telling me, you know, we'll be perfectly fine, but you know, I think a lot of stuff's going to go down, and some things are definitely going to change. And you know, she was absolutely right. Of course, a lot of things did go down in the last 10 years, and a lot of things did change. But that's basically my experience of the actual day, and of the events. And you know, my heart goes out to anyone and everyone that had anything to deal and do with September 11th, whether you knew someone or whether you know, were just scared that day, whether you were an 8-year-old girl at school terrified, or a 12-year-old boy nervous walking home from school. Wherever you were, however you were affected in any way, you know, I feel for you a lot. And my heart goes out to you. You know, my heart goes out to anyone affected by any tragedy. But you know, this is the one we're talking about here, and so my heart definitely goes out to anyone affected in any shape or form. If you felt pain on that day, no matter how small or large, you know, I really sympathize and have compassion for you, infinitely. And now I kind of want to talk about just a little bit about sort of my thinking, and my sort of way, my moral standards / way I deal with things, way I handle things, which is, I try to always approach situations from a perspective and a place of love and kindness. And I know that may sound cheesy or may sound ridiculous, and I understand that lots of situations elicit instant emotions and instant upset and instant anger, and I'm not saying that that's bad or wrong, or that you shouldn't feel those emotions. I'm just saying that I really try, after the debris is sort of cleared, to step back and say, hey, how can I best handle this situation? And I'm not even talking about just tragedies. I'm talking about how parents deal with children. I'm talking about a fight you had at school. I'm talking about, you know, getting angry at your boss at your job. I'm talking about terrorism. I'm talking about any confrontational event that will come at you. And I always do my best to try and come at it from a place of love and kindness. And do I always do that perfectly? No. Does anyone do that perfectly? No. But I try to always think, how can I be the kind of person that will better this situation rather than make it worse? You know, there's enough hate and upset and anger in the world to last us 5 million lifetimes. There's enough people who practice a life of vengeance and hatred to really, you know, to carry us through. That is not what's needed right now. What's really needed in the world, all over, no matter where you live, is love and kindness, and sort of that human touch that has sort of been forgotten. That ability to see someone struggling or see a situation and come at it from a place where you can say, hey, I really want to make a positive difference, and I really want to practice, you know, that love and kindness, and say, how can I help the world, as opposed to just further the fireball of anger and hatred. And I think that can be done in many ways, and there is no right way for it to be done, but just to practice, you know, after a situation occurs, thinking, what is the loving and kind way to resolve this, or to handle this, or to respond. And I think people are very quick to respond out of upset and anger, and like I mentioned, that's is that wrong or uncalled for? No, but after things have cleared and you can take a step back and a deep breath, take a deep breath and say, okay, how can I better this situation? And even if you're not involved, how can you be of service to humanity, of service to your neighbors and family and the world around you, to say, what can I do to bring more loving kindness into this world? And to me, that's incredibly important. I know it may sound preachy. I absolutely am not trying to sound preachy. It's just something that really matters to me, and something is that I think about every day, and that I try to practice every single day. You know, I've had some things happen to me that I'm not trying to compare anything in any way, shape, or form, but that, you know, I try to come at from a perspective of love and kindness and care, as opposed to anger or upset or blame. And you know, I've been reading a lot of things lately, and I'm not going to go into specific stats because I'm not trying to argue or prove a point, but there's plenty of things in the world that are terrible right now. You know, the focus and vigilance with which terrorism was attacked was fantastic. It's really stamped it out. You know, you look at the numbers from the last 10 years, and Islamic terrorism has been stamped out. But there's things like political extremist terrorism that have arisen that are, you know, I read one opinion article that, you know, was talking about how they're currently more afraid of a domestic political extremist attack of some sort or event than an Islamic one. And sometimes I think people, you know, get so focused on one thing or one set of people or one set of circumstances that they forget that there's lots of other things going on. For example, I will throw one number out there. Roughly 15,000 people were murdered in the United States last year. That's a lot of people. And again, I'm in no way downplaying or discounting anything or anyone. I'm just saying that, you know, if you were affected by that, you would be, you know, my heart goes out to you as well. And you know, I think that if we attack things like you know, hunger in other countries, or like, you know, the poverty levels, or like the murder rate, or things like that, with the same ferocity and intensity with which we attack terrorism, and sort of are in the process of stamping that out, that some of these other things can be stamped out as well. And I think it's very important for people to look and say, how can I be of service and benefit to humanity, and what can I put my efforts on to help, you know, stamp out some of these things that are really plaguing the world. And if you aren't the President of the United States, if you aren't Mr. Politician, the best thing I think you can do is practice an attitude of love and kindness throughout your day. Whether you're making a difference for 1 million people or making a difference for one person, I think it's incredibly important to try and do your part to bring more of that good into the world, and just really do what you can to support and help people around you, and do what you can to support and help yourself, and put yourself in a position where you can say, hey, I'm doing my best to bring love and kindness into the existence of my fellow humans and of the world. I hope you got something out of this. I'm not trying to convince you of anything or make anyone offended. Just sort of my thoughts, my opinions, something that's important to me, and also give you kind of my story and tale of September 11th, where I was at and how I experienced it. Today is also the start of the NFL season, so I'm super excited. My Lions finally are looking to be a decent threat in the NFL for the first time in like forever, basically, as long as I've been watching, and that has me excited. I'm sure some of you are pretty psyched about the NFL starting as well. This game is pretty cool. I think it's awesome. The guy has a cool weird thing on his eye. It's got really good graphics. Let me know what you think of Hard Reset, and let me know what you think. It comes out on Tuesday, considering going through it. And let me know what you think of my discussion. You know, I really would like to read all the comments on this video, so whether you agree or disagree or have something to say, just, you know, let me know. And I will definitely do my best to respond to as many as possible. Thank you guys very much for listening. Thank you for supporting. We're approaching 10 months here of Ghost Robo awesomeness, and I hope to continue that for very, very, very many more months than that. But thank you guys for all your support that you've given me over the last 10 months. Thank you for all your support that you've given me, especially in the last couple weeks, especially the last couple days. It's meant a lot. And I hope that I can continue to bring you awesome, enjoyable, cool content, sort of like Hard Reset. And I hope you got something as well out of this commentary. So thank you guys very much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Have a fantastic rest of your life, in fact. And until next time, guys, we will see you all later.